What's up, everyone? Back here at The Harsh Truth after a brief hiatus while I was trying to figure out if I even wanted to keep doing YouTube after that monetization bullshit. Back here with Grim Tuesday himself, Jeremy Wolner. I'm Frank Gilbert. We're talking about Marvel Studios' Black Panther. Come back, we're going to be talking about the new King of Wakanda. So we pick up this movie shortly after the events of Civil War, where the Black Panther, T'Challa, is returning home after the death of his father to officially take over the reins as the King of Wakanda. Once we get there, we get to meet one of my absolute favorite actresses in the entire world, Angela Bassett, who I think is amazing in everything she's ever in. She makes good movies better. She makes bad movies watchable. She is amazing. There's good dialogue between the two. I believe that they're mother and son. She's got a very regal presence anyway. And she was one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. We also get to meet, the best character, the absolute best character in my opinion in this entire film is his little sister Shuri, played by Letitia Wright. She steals really does steal every scene that she's in. She is a shining light in the movie.
I'm excited to see her in the scene because she's just, it's that bounce back, like I said. She's kind of the comic relief at sometimes, but she was also like, she's kind of like his Alfred. Had all the technology, but introduced him to all of it, but, she still managed to make a what are those joke to kind of bring us back from the seriousness and be like, oh yeah, this is modern, we're in this time. But, yeah. There was not a scene where I didn't enjoy having her around for a few minutes.
Yeah, she's great comedy. She's smarter than Tony Stark. She's smarter than Bruce Banner. Probably both of them combined.
Bruce Wayne, man. Like, even when jumping to DC, I mean, shit.
She's every bit Batman's equal. That's the best part. She actually kicks ass in this movie as well. Mm-hmm. But back to the plot, since we've got too far ahead of ourselves, we're talking about characters. Back to the plot. He returns home to officially take over the role of King of Wakanda. I didn't realize until actually going to see this movie, because it's been a long time since I've read comic books. So he returns to Wakanda and has to officially go through this challenge phase to the crown before he can officially be crowned king. And of course, it seems to be more of a traditional thing than anything else at first. All these people from the different tribes, they get the opportunity to challenge. They say, no, we're not going to challenge. No, we're not going to challenge. And then eventually, this one side group, this tribe of Wakanda that had kind of secluded themselves, pops up, and it ends up being M'Baku, who is, in the comic books, is kind of inspired by Man-Ape. Mm-hmm. He actually, you can see during the fight between him and T'Challa, he's wearing the ape mask, kind of a throwback to his character's inspiration from the comics. That was the first really tough fight scene. And I thought it was pretty interesting that they actually gave him the stuff that takes away his Black Panther power, so it really is just strong man against strong man, as opposed to Black Panther and all his supernatural abilities, whatever it is, from the heart-shaped herb. Yeah. That was a pretty interesting fight scene, because it does set up that unity that would come between this tribe and the other tribes of the Wakandan people. What did you think about the movie up to that point?
It was nice to see, finally, because like you said, even at the end of the post-credit scene of Civil War, they just kind of hinted at Wakanda, and now you get to see it in its full glory, and that the fact that they do all come together, except for of course there's that one guy who has to be like, oh, I can do this, and that was interesting, because that would just be totally unfair if he had his Black Panther powers. It's like, no, it's just really, you can't. There's more to it than just that. You have to actually be physically capable of earning that throne, essentially. And and like you said, any one of these people has the right to try and challenge him if you want to. It's nice up to like how their culture is set up and how they handle, I guess, the hierarchy of how that throne works.
Moving forward in the movie, we eventually see Andy Serkis break into this museum and get this axe made of vibranium, and we get our first look at our main bad guy, Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, who is another person that's just absolutely amazing in everything I've seen him in.
I think those two, like I said, Andy Serkis and Michael B. Jordan, I think were my two favorite characters in that movie. They really sold that. I felt like they actually, like Michael B. Jordan's like, raging hate boner for T'Challa and all them. I really felt that he was just on this like personal vendetta his whole life. And Andy Serkis is just hilarious. That's just, that's just a given.
What's really funny is they set Andy Serkis up to be kind of the main bad guy for for Black Panther, but in reality, he's kind of a foil for Michael B. Jordan's character and his ultimate means.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in just a second. When they finally break in, you're kind of, when you're first introduced to his character, you're kind of left to believe that he's a bit of a side character, that he's the sidekick to Andy Serkis. I remember kind of thinking to myself, well, he displays pretty prominently in the movie trailers and the marketing and stuff like that. How could he come in and kind of be a side character? So they kind of gave away a little bit, I thought. So it wasn't very easy to believe that he was kind of the side character.
They do sell that pretty well, though. Like, you kind of start thinking, oh, okay, this guy's what's he's the one who's going to drive this plot, but then you realize, oh, it's actually, it's this guy, and this is just all a setup to, get him to where he needs to go.
They go on, and they're going to make the sale, and one of the best parts of the movie, I thought, was the whole casino thing in Hong Kong.
Oh, and they were all, like, posted at different parts?
Yeah. When they roll into the casino, you actually run into Martin Freeman's character of Everett Ross. And
I'm going to keep calling him Bilbo, I'm sorry.
Call him Bilbo.
I can't. Get two Tolkien guys in there, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't.
But they actually run into Ross, and that's where a little bit of the outside world, the S.H.I.E.L.D. connection comes in. Without actually mentioning S.H.I.E.L.D., which is an important thing, because you really wanted to make this movie stand on its own.
Mm-hmm. But you still believe it's all one.
Yeah. That whole scene was actually, it's one of the better sequences in the entire film, because he's in there trying to get Andy Serkis, trying to get Claw, because it's the one thing that his father had failed at doing, is to bring Claw to justice for what he had done. A little bit of background, one of the reasons why Claw is such a hated person in Wakanda is because he actually managed to get into Wakanda, steal so many tons of vibranium, and get out. And so that's the one little slap in the face of the Wakandans, the one thing that they actually got burned on was Claw. So there has been this ongoing thing about trying to get Claw, bring him to justice. So T'Challa, in one of his first official acts as king, has a chance to go get Claw. Now, after this really awesome sequence that was displayed so prominently in all the marketing with the whole car chase and him using his claws to claw at that tire and all that, he ends up coming back to Wakanda empty-handed. And that leaves... This is where I run into one of my little things about the movie I didn't quite get. His buddy W'Kabi, played by Daniel Kaluuya, I think Kaluuya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
I don't know. I have no idea.
If I'm not,
he's the guy from Get Out. That's all.
The guy from Get Out. I noticed that because he has a very personal connection to that whole incident, because Claw, in escaping with that vibranium, killed his parents. He's a little butthurt about the whole thing. So, after all that sequence happens, Claw, Michael B. Jordan, and the chick that Michael B. Jordan looks to be boyfriend and girlfriend with, they're getting on an airplane to leave, and so he puts a couple of bullets in Claw and kills him. The first thing that kind of blew me away at that was, you're already killing Claw? I didn't think that Claw was going to be a significant Marvel villain. I thought he would be significant to Black Panther's arc. Mm-hmm. So killing him that early in the film I thought was a little odd, but it served the story, so... It
surprised me a little bit, but I kind of get why. Because, again, he is that stepping stone for Killmonger to get there. And I thought maybe that's why they're doing it, because it's not so much of a joint effort, because Killmonger does strike me as the kind of guy who'd be like, if I have to kill you to get where I'm going, I will do it.
Well, it's funny you say that, because in that scene, before he chases Claw down and eventually kills him, Claw, figuring out that Killmonger was just about trying to get to Wakanda, takes his girlfriend hostage to get away, because they eventually draw guns on each other, and Claw's got his girlfriend, and Eric Killmonger puts a bullet in his own girlfriend's head to get Claw.
But then, it's gonna be okay, boom. I was like, shit. I was like, oh, okay, so this is where he's at, alright.
That is an absolute display of his resolve for wanting to get to Wakanda and achieve his ultimate ends.
Yeah.
That he would sacrifice anything and everybody to get there. So that makes him absolutely, not terrifying as a villain, but that he's not...
he's not fucking around anymore.
Yeah, he's not going to be screwed with. If he's going to put a bullet in anybody to get to where he's going, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. After killing Claw, he, of course, flies himself to Wakanda, because, he supposedly knows right where it's at.
He's got the tattoo, too.
He does have a tattoo, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But he flies to Wakanda, and he ends up just walking right up to the to W'Kabi and says, here's Claw. I want to talk to your king. And I kind of thought to myself, well, so all of a sudden his buddy Wakabi is going to just go ahead and turn on him just like that after claiming his allegiance to the king and supposedly being friends with T'Challa through childhood and all that. As soon as this guy brings Claw's body and he's just automatically going to turn tail and side with Killmonger, I don't really understand that.
Well, now that I think about it, maybe because wasn't he the one that T'Challa he came to and told him like, look, I don't have him. And now this guy just walks up to the front gate with Claw in hand. He's kind of like, I mean, you just got to do what he did, and he promised it's something that he would do. He promised me, I can get this guy for you because my father failed at it, and he doesn't. So this guy comes up and he's kind of thinking, well, maybe this guy's got his act together more than our own king does.
But he's not Wakandan as far as anybody knows at that point.
True.
As far as anybody in Wakanda knows.
But I mean,
he doesn't reveal himself to Claw until the moment he's killing Claw.
Right, but I mean, that point of like, he's like, oh, but there's something with this guy, because I mean, why would he have Claw? Like, what would, he's just some random dude who's just like, yeah, I killed this guy, I knew to take him here. Maybe that's where the gears start turning, like, maybe something's up with this guy. It does seem a little extreme that he's just like, alright, well, I'm with this dude now. I mean...
Yeah, it just seemed odd to me that he would turn tail and go to the other side so quickly.
Yeah,
after that scene where they're talking about, around the rhino pin, it seems that whole scene establishes their closeness. It just seemed odd to me that he would turn on him so quickly after Killmonger brings up Claw.
I don't know. I thought maybe he didn't have a choice because again, like because even Denai Guerrero's character was like, I don't have a choice. I have to defend the throne no matter who's on it. Like, even if I don't like this guy or I don't like what he's doing, I have this duty. I'm like, maybe he's just kind of feeling like, if I do something wrong here, he may kill me too.
But her choice is a little clearer because
she's the general. She doesn't have a choice.
It's explicit that she's loyal to the throne.
Yeah.
He, however, has got a long-standing relationship with T'Challa. So the fact that he would turn so quickly when you have on the other side of the spectrum this, his guard who says, oh no, I'm loyal to the throne, where he's just like, I'm loyal to the throne, but I turn really quickly.
Yeah, but there's this guy.
And to top it off, they're lovers, they're together.
Yeah, like there's that connection. They're together.
She's stupid loyal to her duty, and he's willing to turn his back on T'Challa like a drop of a hat.
That's just kind of
There's
stupid.
not a whole lot of story. There's not a whole lot of balance in that for me, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. But moving forward, obviously there's another challenge. Kilgore's got a challenge T'Challa for the throne. And that hand-to-hand combat sequence was pretty good as well, I thought.
They did very well in the combat in this movie. Like it's one thing to you can stage combat, you can stage fight, do all that stuff, but when you make it believable, like you actually feel like you can feel that they're actually going after each other. You feel like it's a real fight, and you're on edge. Like, oh crap, who's gonna win? What's gonna happen? Especially in the situation they're in, where they're on the edge of that waterfall, and that's where again, like I said, that's when he throws T'Challa over the waterfall, and like. Okay, but he's gonna come back, right? It just didn't. I get all the Wakandans are all like, "Oh crap, there he went, there goes our king." Like I understand their emotion, but I'm just like, I mean, I know movies. You can't just throw Black Panther over the edge like that. He's gonna come back.
We also know there's 2 Infinity War movies coming.
Yeah, like there's more. I know he's come back, so I'm kind of like, okay, so how does he get out of this? But
it ruins a bit of the.
Yeah, I mean, it was a moment, but I was like, oh, okay, but I'm gonna see you again, right? I know it.
Yeah, it ruins a bit of the drama to know that he's not actually going to die.
Yeah.
But so obviously after this challenge takes place, it's portrayed that Kilgore throws T'Challa off the waterfall and he is dead, and he assumes leadership of Wakanda. Now, this is a pretty interesting part of the movie as well, because he's decided that he's going to, instead of keeping Wakanda isolated from all the world's problems and just kind of them handling themselves without being interfered with and corrupted by the rest of the world, that he's actually going to send these weapons that they have out to all these oppressed people so that they can fight back. And this is kind of one of the underlying things that it kind of hounds T'Challa as well. And one of the reasons why they were even at that UN assembly in Civil War to begin with is there's this running question of, do we go ahead and bring ourselves out to the world and try to help in some way before the world destroys itself, or do we continue to just maintain life in our little bubble? And while T'Challa was wrestling with that question, it seemed like Eric Killmonger was pretty certain as to what he wanted to do. And what did you think about the way he wanted to go about fixing what he perceived as problems with the world?
What, talking about Killmonger?
Yeah.
Or Kilgore, whatever his name is.
Killmonger.
Killmonger? Okay. See, like you said, I think he knew, again, he was driven by that emotional rage throughout his life. So once he got there, like I said, he did, as soon as from the get-go, he knew what he wanted to do. And because that's kind of how he felt. I think when they left him there, he probably felt really helpless that he couldn't do anything about it. So maybe he's thinking, okay, so we have all this technology, all this, you have the chance to fight back. Like, so why not give that to the people who don't have that option? Because, you know, but maybe because of what they have, I think it may be too much. I think that's where that wrestle comes from. Is like, yeah, but if we give them all this, like, this could maybe even go further, and it could be a double-edged sword. It could turn on itself. You know, if you give everybody this technology, it may not end up right. So maybe it seems, again, just maybe an emotional decision, but I don't know, because the first thing he did, like I said, also was he burned all the heart-shaped flowers. So I'm like, I don't know where you're going with that, because like, didn't they give him the power, right? So unless maybe he was just trying to cut it off there and say, well, okay, this is me now. I'm the captain now. You know, he seemed like a really extreme approach, like just, I don't know, like it maybe wasn't quite a decision make. You know, like T'Challa's just thinking, okay, I see both sides of this. I can see maybe we could help, but also, do we want to? This is a lot to expose to the world. Should we go this far? I don't know. Maybe that's the difference between the two of them. Is he was like, no, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and you know, we're gonna put this out there.
What the hell was I going to say next?
No, I was trying to stumble through that. I was like, I don't know. Like, I can't. How to explain? I'm like, he's just like, let's do it.
That's what editing's for.
Yeah. Thank you.
After of course he decides to go send these weapons out into the world, you see Lupita Nyong'o's character Nakia, his sister and his mother, kind of leave at least the Wakandan capital, and they end up hooking up with Winston Duke's character, with M'Baku again, and he kind of gives them shelter. And then of course they come to find out that they've got Ross with them too. They managed to sneak the white guy out, and the token white guy. They managed to sneak him out, and they end up back with the tribe that in the beginning of the movie had challenged him. And of course they come to find out that they're not really enemies. Yada yada yada. It's kind of the age-old thing.
Yeah, there's that one group, and then they're like, well, we're not so bad.
Yeah. So they all become friends. Not only that, but they also find out that they actually found T'Challa after he was thrown off the... Yeah, mind blown.
I mean,
they actually find...
shocker.
Yeah, they actually find T'Challa, and he's in a coma of sorts. So, of course, before Killmonger destroys all the heart-shaped flowers, Lupita Nyong'o's character manages to steal one. So, of course, they give it to T'Challa. He heals him from his coma. He wakes up. Of course, he's got the powers of the Black Panther. It's kind of standard for any action movie, really, that whole series of events. So, then comes the build-up to try to go back and try to retake the throne. I thought it was really funny, the interaction between Ross is trying to say something to M'Baku. He tells him, "Shut up, don't speak here, I'll feed you to my children." And that was, again, one of the funny lines, because you can see Ross kind of recoil, kind of like, uh-oh, I think he's serious. He goes, "No, I'm just kidding, we're vegetarians."
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I was like, okay, that's a nice scary line followed up with a joke.
Because all you know so far is he's that one guy who challenged him, and they're that tribe that's like, okay, screw all you guys. But then you kind of find out, he's not so bad.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny, it was a pretty well-timed joke, which Marvel, it's one of the things Marvel's good at, is the well-timed jokes. Mm-hmm. Not the over-humor, but the well-timed jokes. So they're getting ready to go back and take the throne back in Wakanda. His sister sneaks out the necklace that he wore, not knowing that Killmonger's actually got the gold one, and that's where he gets the killer leopard-faced Black Panther suit or something, or whatever it was. The killer leopard-faced suit that you actually see him wearing in the trailers. Mm-hmm. It finally explains how he ends up with that.
Right.
I look back on it now, and I'm like, the trailer's got a pretty big reveal there that you don't really know about until
you don't know
the
that
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally missed the trailers the first couple times I saw the trailers. I was like, I'm assuming that he's just another Black Panther somewhere.
You wouldn't think to notice that detail, like, oh, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as he rolls up to start the battle, trying to take everything back, Okoye is kind of torn because she has to defend the king, mm-hmm. who she sees right now as Killmonger, But when she sees that T'Challa is still alive, that kind of changes the game a little bit, because then suddenly in her mind she says, oh, well, the challenge isn't over yet because T'Challa is still alive, so as far as we're concerned, he's still the king. Now she says, hey, this guy's the bad guy again, go get him. And that does really help T'Challa's case a lot. Because, and again, one of the things that kind of got me is his buddy W'Kabi the whole time is just fighting against him.
And didn't he bring a whole friggin' right to him, and he's just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. This is one of the points where you figured he would say, oh, T'Challa's still alive, maybe I have to fight back against this guy who doesn't deserve to be the ruler of Wakanda. But instead he just kind of moves forward with his just wrong perspective, and that really took the character out of it for me.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right. His motivations are kind of weird, because unless someone didn't yell across the field, hey, he's here, he's back, he's alright, it's your buddy. But he's still, I don't know. It seems kind of odd. You take a whole battalion of dudes to go kill your buddy. But why?
Yeah, I still...
Does he maybe see him as a failure? Like I said before, does he see him as a failure? Because he did say, oh, look, it's what was the last thing he did say to him was oh, it's still all the same. You failed at your first thing that you promised me to do that your father couldn't do. And he said, yeah, you're still nothing but the same. So maybe he lost his faith in him a little bit, but that does seem still a little extreme. I can see where the seeds of that may have been planted for a conflict.
But it still happened way too quickly for me.
It did.
It's in one scene they're friends, he comes back from the mission where they couldn't get Claw, and all of a sudden he's just mad at him. It's it's like the king before him didn't get him for 30 years. And would you have turned on him like that?
Assumingly not, but the first thing he does, he's like, well, you screwed up, man. Forget you then.
I think way less of the character because of the way things went for him. Now, he eventually kind of gets it, but he only gets it once his own girlfriend jumps in front of him with a spear and says...
And she's like, I will kill you,
yeah,
dude.
And she says, I will and I can kill you, and I'm going to do it.
For the sake of this place, man, I will kill you.
And it seemed like that was it wasn't... He didn't back down because it was the right thing to do. It seemed like he backed down because he didn't want to die.
You didn't have a choice. So,
yeah. At that point, he knew he was beat. So it's oh, okay, now you're my king again. I'm so I'm really hoping that in if there's a Black Panther sequel that comes out soon, and I really hope there is, that it seems like that guy should start out in some kind of Wakandan prison.
Yeah.
Because he's a traitor in every sense of the word.
That is, yeah.
His character was as much as I like his character and like every character in the movie for different reasons, his character was by far my least favorite because there's just there's no place for the way that he acted.
Yeah, but if Michonne had a blade to my throat, I'd be like, yeah, all right.
So of course the battle, we go through the battle and everybody's fighting everybody else, and then of course it eventually ends up mano a mano, Killmonger against Black Panther, and that fight sequence, as soon as they finally get a chance to get hands on each other, that fight sequence is pretty badass.
And again, that's where you feel it, they're trying to go at each other's throats here. My
only knock on it was when, as he's got his sister, and he's getting ready to kill her, and Black Panther jumps and knocks him off her, and they fall down into that big vibranium mine, and they fall several thousands of feet, it seems, down into wherever the hell they're falling to. That whole thing, the CGI wasn't quite right.
I mean, even the fight was you can tell it's mostly CGI because, a lot of that'd be a lot of training, a lot of stuff you had to do, but, with a fight scene, you can cut it to kind of seamlessly flow together, but, it's no, Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, Gandalf falling down into the thing, and you just feel that whole drop, you just feel that whole, that some shit's about to happen. You can tell he's falling with this dragon. My problem wasn't the editing as much as it just was the CGI in the moment, because it's once he tackles him, they start falling down this big hole. It does look like there's bright outlines where there should be darkness, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But it happens so fast that I only catch that stuff because now I look for those little things. Now they get more actual people like us that watch the movie
filmmaking,
we watch it and we watch everything.
Yeah, But when they get down in there and the real combat starts between the two, it's that whole fight sequence is just amazing. And of course, there's that one little technological thing. Oh well, this little thing can nullify vibranium and its strengths, and it's and there's actually a little bit of foreshadowing in that when she's explaining to Ross earlier in the movie how they can transport vibranium without it being exploding, or I guess it's highly volatile, which is something that you don't know about until you actually watch this movie. And she says, "Oh yeah, we use this magnetic whatever to cause a sonic whatever, some sciencey stuff that I can't remember exactly how
something makes it work, something
to neutralize the vibranium so we can move it." And then of course that's where they end up fighting. So it's all about who's going to land the right punch at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So this fight scene ensues, and like I said, it was a fantastic fight scene. And on and off of these tracks with this sonic whatever happening, and then finally T'Challa manages to get a knife right before the effects of this sonic whatever is wearing off, and there's this one little spot right here on Killmonger's suit that he can jam that knife in before it becomes solid vibranium again. Now, one of the cool things that happens after that is Killmonger doesn't die immediately. There is some good dialogue that happens between them, and that's one of my favorite parts of the movie, actually, is this dialogue between T'Challa and Killmonger after the fight is over, where you kind of, it's a reminder that you are sympathetic towards the bad guy in a way, because that's what makes a good villain, is you understand where he comes from and you kind of feel him a little bit, even though he's doing dastardly horrible things. You
understand why.
Yeah, you can put yourself in his place really easily and be like, well, if I were in that position, I'd kind of understand why he'd see it that way.
Yeah.
So, but there is some good dialogue. He does say things like, Wakanda really is beautiful. There's that moment where he drags him out to the mouth of the cave underneath the big Black Panther cave.
Yeah, and he lets him see it,
and lets
with
him
the
see
sunset.
the sunset over Wakanda. Yeah. My one knock on the movie overall is that there's a bit too much of a social message in there. I know that it was part of Killmonger's backstory, but there were some points in there where I was like, do you really need to slap the audience in the face with your social message? I mean, I said it a couple times in videos, I go to movies to get away from real life for a couple of hours. I don't want the real life social message creeping into my movie all that much. Like I said, I got it as part of his backstory, but when they were able to take shots at the social message, I was like, just don't take me out of the movie by doing this, please. Mm-hmm. And they did it a couple times. I got over it, but it didn't hurt the movie for me overall, but that kind of annoyed me. The rest of the movie was really good. Like I said, there was one little spot of CGI as they're falling down the vibranium hole, and the end of the movie was fantastic. What do you think about the rest of the movie going out?
Yeah, like I said, I agree. It was pretty cool, and that was a pretty sweet fight, because that build up to it was done pretty well. And again, you feel it because the way the fight is set up. Yeah, you're wondering, okay, so who's gonna get this? Because you have that few moments where someone's gonna land that right strike, and that's where you're gonna take your opponent out. And even though it was kind of like it feels like a grown up version of like you and your friends are playing in the street, you're like, oh, car, there it comes. Okay, let's go back to it. Kind of felt like that, but it was still cool. And I had a discussion with somebody at work about the ending where T'Challa says to him, like, we could still help you. But at that point, I think he even knew, like, nah, this is it. Like, I can't. I'm not going to go through that, because he said, well, what else are you even going to do with me? Are you just going to put me in jail and just leave me there? So I get that he was trying, I was like, but that's what makes T'Challa such a great leader. He wasn't just flat out, like, you want to kill this guy. Trust me, you probably wanted to kill this guy because he was your enemy. But again, you sympathize with him a little bit, thinking, well, okay, we can maybe do something for you. Like, it's not just going to be, we're not just going to let you go, but, but he has that humanity towards him, like, okay, for his own kingdom, he's like, okay, maybe we can do something with you. But again, he already had, Killmonger had his mind made up that, no, this is the end for me. And
you can hardly blame him. I mean, he says, I'd rather die than live life in a cage. And I think we all feel that way to a point. Yeah. I mean, if given that choice, I think we'd all make the choice that he made.
Yeah, because like I said, he knew, if this doesn't succeed, I'm either going to die or I'd rather be dead. I'm just going to be sitting around in a cell doing what? That's no life for me. Like, he was trying to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish, and, it didn't really work out for him, but yeah, I think that was just his end goal. I don't think he really had anything else planned in mind. That's all he was geared towards.
The bottom line was another fantastic Marvel movie. I don't think it quite makes it up to Winter Soldier level for me, but it is really, really close. This is probably my second favorite Marvel movie. I think it edges out Civil War. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that this is pure Black Panther, and it's not like Black Panther mixed in with all the other crap that's going on in the MCU. This as a pure standalone story, this is easily my second favorite movie, right behind Winter Soldier.
Someone like you, who is that, you're into that universe, and you've seen all of it, you understand all of it more than I would, but like, from someone on an outside perspective, like, I followed the movie pretty well still, and I still enjoyed it. Like, maybe I didn't get, the same effect as anyone else who's seen every single Marvel movie since, but, like, yeah, even for me, there's a lot of things I agree with,
And then, of course, there's post-credit scenes for this movie as well.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, Marvel movie is a big surprise.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, obviously, it just shows, it's pretty much a Black Panther specific scene. It clearly shows that T'Challa has made his decision as to whether he wants to bring Wakanda to the outside world or not. So he goes up in front of a UN assembly somewhere in Austria, I believe it says, and he's saying we want to come out and join the world. We don't want to be secluded anymore. It was a very elegant, very political, very well written speech. If this were real life, I think that's the speech that he would have gone up in front of this group of people and given. I thought it was great writing.
And that would be a good appropriate response too. That one guy leans over, is like, "Okay, so what makes you so special? What have you got?" And then a little smirk he does, and I'm like, "Well,"
and he does that smirk very well
yeah,
too.
like, well, let me tell you about the stuff we have.
And this guy leans over and says, "What does a farming country have to give the rest of the world?" And then T'Challa cracks a smile, and then that's where the scene ends, because you know what he's going to say. He's going to say, "Hey, we've got everything that you guys wish you had." The second post-credit scene, for the bigger universe, it lets us know, and this is something that I was hoping we would see as kind of an Easter egg during the film, but after seeing this post-credit scene, I understand why we didn't. It becomes pretty clear why we didn't. I was hoping that we would see that little cryostasis chamber of Bucky somewhere in a corner of a scene.
Mm-hmm.
So the second film, it starts out with these 3 or 4 Wakandan kids. They're looking down at the camera from a point of view of somebody laying on the ground, and whoever you're supposed to be seeing from their point of view, you don't know yet, starts to rustle around. So these kids get up and run out of the hut, and there's just a little grouping of 2 or 3 huts along some pretty little lake and somewhere in Wakanda, and come stumbling out of this hut is Bucky, who's dressed in some kind of Wakandan cloths or whatever. He's obviously not dressed in his full armor right now. He's still missing his arm at the shoulder. And so he walks out, and standing at the shores of the lake is his sister Shuri, is Letitia Wright, Black Panther's sister Shuri, and it's a couple of pretty interesting things about this. Is the one, she refers to him as White Wolf. I don't know if you're familiar with that reference or not.
No, I thought it was like I feel like there was something there. I'm not as into it as you are. Maybe
I had to go back and look into it a little bit too. White Wolf is actually at one point in the comic books, there is a plane that crashes over Wakanda, and it's kind of like Arrow, or not Arrow, but Iron Fist. Kind of like the child is the only survivor, and the 2 parents and everybody else in the plane was killed. Well, anyway, the Wakandans end up taking him in, and through whatever, this guy ends up becoming White Wolf, who becomes the leader of the Wakandan secret police, becomes kind of a right-hand man of T'Challa, a pretty tough Wakandan warrior in his own right. I don't think that he's going to become White Wolf. I think if Bucky steps out of the Winter Soldier role, he's going to become Captain America. I think that's where things are headed anyway. But I thought the White Wolf reference was interesting. Now, it could have been just an Easter egg, a little bit of fan service. It could be a bit of a telling of things to come. We're obviously not going to know until they push the story forward, but I thought that was interesting. The other thing I noticed is, I don't know if there was a bit of admiration between Shuri and him. She does mention something about continuing his training, which makes the White Wolf reference a little interesting to me. I don't know if he's necessarily training to be some kind of Wakandan warrior, which I doubt. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Or if it's just conditioning, trying to get back in shape. The only thing I do know is that there's going to be a vibranium arm somewhere in his future.
I was just thinking that he's going to have a wicked sweet vibranium arm.
He is going to have a pretty cool extra metal vibranium appendage on it coming off his shoulder. But yeah, I did see a little. It seemed like there was a little bit of admiration between Shuri and him. I don't know if that was a hint of a relationship between the two or whatever. Maybe it was the fact that she referred to him as White Wolf. Maybe that's where the admiration comes from. I don't see a love story building there, but I did catch a little bit of something there. And then, of course, that's where the scene ends, is when they walk away. So there's a tease of what you're going to see. Overall, 1 to 5, what'd you give it?
And again, as an outside opinion, I'd give it about a 4. Wasn't perfect, and I've heard a lot of people say, it's not the best Marvel movie, but it was pretty damn good. I agree. Again, from an outside opinion, I enjoyed myself with it.
This was pretty easily my second favorite movie, right behind Winter Soldier, and I think the only reason why I put Winter Soldier just a little bit ahead of it is because I'm a little partial to the political thrillers, and that's what Winter Soldier really is a kind of a political thriller. As much as it's a comic book movie, it's got that political thriller feel. So I'd give it 4.5 stars out of 5 easy. I mean, with the exception of a few things, this movie's pretty much perfect. They finally broke that villain curse that Marvel movies have. They finally gave us a legit good villain, the best villain we've got since Loki. Great dialogue, the way that they use the settings. I mean, they didn't usually when you're in Tokyo, you're kind of in a crowded area, but they opened that up a lot and allowed you to do and just made the place they got really great use out of all their locations.
They made it their own, I think.
They did. Well,
it makes it believable that this is a place, you know.
That was one of the nice things about Wakanda is when you first go into Wakanda, you expect it to be kind of futuristic. This place had that aesthetic of a futuristic African village.
Yeah, and to a degree, yeah, it was futuristic, but it's not just completely like out of the route. Like you're not going into like Star Wars, Star Trek era. You're not so far into where you're just like you don't believe they still farm and whatnot, like, you know, but they don't have to or something.
Yeah, they really made use of their surroundings. For being a imaginative, you know, comic book film, it was still very believable. Overall, a 4.5 out of 5 stars easily. It's my second favorite Marvel film so far. It's right up there with Winter Soldier. I think they put this movie together amazingly well, and I'm really eager to see what is coming down from Marvel, both for Black Panther individually and for what he's going to be doing, however his involvement is going to be in Infinity War. I'm ready for Infinity War. You know, we've only got 10 weeks?
So it's close.
Till Infinity War?
Pretty close, actually.
I mean, so we've got 10 weeks to enjoy this, and then it's right back in the mess. I mean, we're going toe to toe with Thanos, and Black Panther's going to be there. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. I hope. Hopefully, you'll catch up on the Marvel movies between now and then.
It's a lot in 10 weeks.
So there's a lot to do in 10 weeks. But yeah, so overall, fantastic. Solid 4 for him, 4.5 for me, and we think it's a great movie. That's our review of Black Panther. Go ahead and click up here if you want to subscribe. Go ahead and click over here if you want to watch another video, and we'll see you next time.